Hello and welcome to another edition of the Marvin Bird Show. I'm your host, Marvin Bird. Here we believe that teachers are leaders, and as a result, we strive to equip teachers with the skills and information that they could use in order to help lead their students to success. I'm so glad that you're here. Aristotle once said that we are what we repeatedly do. We repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, it's an habit. It's a habit. Today we're going to be talking about habits and the habits that you can help your students acquire in order to help them be more successful in the classroom. This takes leadership, and that's why you're here. So success is found in our habits. Success is found in our habits. Success is found in, as we start this new year, success is found in one's ability to drop those old habits, those bad habits that do not cause one to get closer to their goal. Drop those habits and adopt new habits that are going to help one get closer to their goal. As a leader in the classroom, you need to be aware of this. You need to be aware of this, and it's important that you do what you can to influence your students to make good decisions, to drop those bad habits and adopt those good ones. So as leaders, we need to pay attention to those habits because it's those unseen things, as a teacher. It's those unseen things. It's those things that the things that happen outside the classroom, those things that are going on in the minds of your students that they can have an effect on their performance in your classroom. Now, am I saying that you need to take responsibility for all those external variables? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I'm giving you I'm going to give you some tools, some experiments that you can try. There seems to be there for everyone. There's always room in your toolbox for another tool. Okay, here's a new tool. Let me try this tool and see if it works. Remember, great teachers, they exhaust all of the tools in their toolbox. And when that doesn't work, they go get some more tools. Okay? So I want you to think of this. I want you to think of this. Everything begins with a thought. Everything begins with a thought. And then it takes that consistent thinking, consistent reflection in order to bring that thought into reality, in order to bring that thought to cause some action that makes that thought something that we can all easily see, we can interact with. I mean, the idea of a smartphone, the idea of something to search the internet, something to play music, something that you could use to call people, a phone, like all of those things in one device. That took a lot of thinking. That took a lot of meditating before we were able to get to that. So you are the architect of your environment. You modeling this, you hitting this consistently each and every day during the time that you have your students with you, that is going to have an effect on your students. It's going to have an effect on all of your students. Now you may not see the tremendous amount of growth that you want to see out of certain students, but I believe that you will see growth. You will have an impact on all of your students if you're consistent. You are the architect of your environment, and so you have to pay very close attention to the mindset of your students, because the mindset, that's going to affect their habits. That's going to affect their habits. And when we talk about mindset, it's actually the setting of your mind, and that's a process that needs to be. You need to go through that process constantly. The setting of your mind, the setting of your mind. Like when you have that PD session that you really don't want to be in that PD session. You've got 1,000 things to do. Like you it would be helpful if you set it a different way to see that professional development a different way, to say, hey, okay, I really don't want to be here, but if I just get one thing, if I can just get one thing out of this session, I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to follow up on that in my own personal professional development. I'm going to use that to benefit my students. That's a setting of the mind. We all need to go through that process at different points throughout the day, the setting of our mind, how we set our mind. So what I want to share with you is this resource, and I'm gonna link it in the description section. I came across this article in educational leadership. It's titled "The Habits of Self-Directed Learners." It's written by Seth N. Brown and Thomas R. Feller Jr. And in this article, again, I'll link to this article, but in this article, they cite research that I'm still diving into by Benna Kallick and Arthur L. Acosta. And their work is titled 16 Habits of the Mind. So in this article in Education Leadership, these two gentlemen, they pull out these 16 habits and they apply them to the classroom. So what I want to do is I want to go through them. We're not going to talk about all 16. Today we'll only talk about one, but I want to take a deep dive into some of these habits, and I submit these to you as something that you can focus on with your students. Okay? So number one, the first habit, of these 16 habits of the mind of successful people, and also successful learners you're going to see as we go along. So the first habit is applying past knowledge to new situations. Now, as a teacher, I'm sure you can understand how this is gold. This is pure gold. Yes, you need to be able to apply past knowledge to new situations. Some of you in your districts, you may have language like this written in your teacher evaluation tool, helping students apply past knowledge to new situations. But I want you to think of this in terms of, you want your students, long after they leave your classroom, to be able to go through this process, apply past knowledge to new situations. You know, the human brain is just so fascinating. You know, right now there's all this talk about artificial intelligence, but it all comes back to the human mind. You know, AI will never, ever fully replace our brain, because what we can do is we can carry these multiple pieces of information and create something new. We can problem solve. We can improve on a thing and make it more easier and efficient. And we do this with there's a heart component that comes with it as well. There's an empathy component that also comes with it. That's why, you know, AI is never going to replace fully humans. Never. That's not going to happen. So when we talk about applying past knowledge to new situations, I want you to think about some of the things throughout history that we've seen, the advancements in technology. We've seen, do you remember, I remember this around like 1994, 95, you got mail. Remember how big AOL was when you would log on to the internet and just, so like, we don't have that anymore. Things are different, but back then we had things like chat room, we had instant messenger, like though that was a big deal, and you had all these different chat rooms that people can interact. And you know, fast forward, now we have Facebook. But I mean, we don't get to Facebook unless we go through the AOL kind of wilderness, and it was kind of cool for its time, but now things have progressed and now we have Facebook. So think about it in terms of applying past knowledge to new situations. Now we're in a new situation. Now we have Facebook. AOL, we have no need for that anymore. But that took a matter of consistent reflection, consistent thinking, applying what we knew back then to the current situation. Think about the Wright brothers. Think about the Wright brothers. They had this habit as well. There there was just so much that they didn't know in terms of building a machine that could fly through the air. They didn't know anything about engineering. They didn't know a whole lot about flight. And so they had to hire an engineer to teach them about engineering. They had to go down to the beach to learn about birds and their flight patterns and how they fly and how to possibly construct their machine to fly through the air. They didn't know. They had to go acquire that knowledge. Like they had to find that knowledge and apply it to a new situation. That's the habit. That's the number one habit. That's why I started with that. Applying past knowledge to new situations, because it is so important that students understand the value of being able to do this, doing this consistently, doing this not only in the classroom, but in their lives as well. Because ladies and gentlemen, as I tell my students this, and I'm going to tell my own kids this, you don't have to go to college, but you better have a plan. There are numerous opportunities out there available to everyone. And I know I may lose some of you with this, but I mean, really, the return on investment for college, it's not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be. So I believe that if we equip our students with this habit, we teach them this habit, we do what we can, either they're going to take to it or they won't. That's on them. But if you, as a leader in the classroom, you do what you can to help preach this message consistently, that the habit of applying past knowledge to new situations, that's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial to everyone in this ever-changing world. Also, think about this. Think about that. This is the way life works. Life works is you have to first, you don't come out of the womb knowing calculus. You don't come out of the womb understanding calculus, understanding how to solve for X. You come out of the womb, it's like, what is a number? Oh, that's a number. Okay, let's put them in order. All right, you're doing good. Now let's get these little blocks out. Let's do some addition. Let's do some subtraction. And you elementary teachers, I thank you. I thank you for your service, but the math that my kids are 8, and the math, the way that they're doing math, I don't remember us doing things like that. So you're making life a little difficult for me, but I appreciate you. My elementary teachers, I appreciate you. Just like the math is just a little bit different. I don't remember it like that, but I do appreciate you. But no, there was this process, these steps that you go through, this application of this past knowledge, because now we have this new situation. You want me to solve for X. If you want me to solve for X or do some calculus, I better know how to count numbers. I better know what a number is. That habit is so critical. You need to know how to do that. And I think that is applying past knowledge to new situations. I think that is essential to being a problem solver. That's essential to being a problem solver. So let me give you this. This is another quote from the article. Listen to this. It says the amount and quality of prior knowledge positively influence both knowledge acquisition and the capacity to apply higher order cognitive problem solving skills. That was a lot. And I'm going to give that to you again, but I want to share this with you. Check this out. Hold on to that. Hold that thought. Now, check this out. I often share this with students when I do my how to study workshop. Okay, so I break down, this is the definition of study. Okay, study. Study is the application to study. It's the application of the mind to the acquisition, acquisition of knowledge, acquisition of knowledge as by reading, investigation, or reflection. Check that out. I want you to think about that. Think about that. The application of the mind to the acquisition of knowledge as by reading, investigation, or reflection. Reading, investigation, or reflection. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that students they're always studying. They're always expected to study when they're in your classroom. They are studying when they are in your classroom because they're applying their mind to the acquisition of knowledge. Acquisition of knowledge. Now, let me give this quote to you again. The amount and quality of prior knowledge positively influence both knowledge acquisition and the capacity to apply higher order cognitive problem solving skills. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important that students, as a result of what we just read, when we talk about knowledge acquisition and solving higher order cognitive problem solving thinking, it's important that students not leave the classroom with unanswered questions. It's important that we preach this message that students should not leave the classroom with unanswered questions. I used to have in my classroom on the front door as you entered my classroom, I had a poster and it said, on the poster said enter seeking. And then on the inside of the door, there was a similar poster and it said, leave with new knowledge. Leave with new knowledge. Enter seeking, leave with new knowledge. And that's what it's all about. We have to, it's challenging, but we have to also always equip ourselves with, if there's new information out there that we can use in order to help students help make them more curious learners, we gotta try it. We gotta try it. Okay. There's room in your toolbox. So I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna give you a couple tools here in just a moment. But what I want to do before I get to that is I want to talk about marvinbird.com. Marvinbird.com. I want you to check out the website marvinbird.com because on that site I've got blog posts, and the blog posts, I guarantee you, they are about it takes you about 5 minutes or less to read one of those blog posts. And I encourage you, since we're talking about habits today, make it a habit to go to my website, marvinbird.com. There's a quick link on that homepage to my latest blog. And again, it'll take you less than 5 minutes to get through. And that's your professional development for the day. So I encourage you to check that out. Again, my website, marvinbird.com, bird with a Y. Check it out. Very quick and easy professional development that you can do on your own, comfort of your home, your classroom. I'm not having you sit down and get this information when you have people to call, papers to grade, and just other things to do. But I do encourage you to add some more tools to your toolbox very quickly. Won't take a whole lot of your time, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. All right, let's get back to this. So again, I said the amount and quality of prior knowledge positively influence both knowledge acquisition and the capacity to apply higher order cognitive problem solving skills. So the prior knowledge, when students have this prior knowledge, it's going to fill them with confidence. It's going to fill them with confidence. And that's why, we need to do all that we can to make sure students aren't leaving the classroom with unanswered questions, because when it comes to the test, no information in, no information out. And I remember that would frustrate a lot of I remember a lot of my students would be frustrated by that, because they felt like, I'm really getting this before the test, but when the test comes, they realize, man, I didn't really have what I thought I had. That's because they didn't really acquire that knowledge. They didn't really acquire. It was just like a passing connection. It's just like, yeah, I heard it, but I didn't really catch it in terms of that information, in terms of that knowledge, because they don't have it, so therefore they can't do anything with it. So here's what I want to share with you. Present thought-provoking prompts. Present thought-provoking prompts. Now, this is going to require you, it's going to require you to be creative, but also be your authentic self. And so you're going to have to put your thinking hat on to figure out, what can I do here in order to hook my students? So the word provoke, when we look at the etymology of the word provoke, we have pro, that means forth, and then vocare, that's the second part of that word. It means to call. So when you put that together, to call forth. So when I say thought provoking prompts, what's going to really speak to your students? And I don't know what that is for your students. Could it be basketball? Could it be basketball? Could it be fishing? Could it be music? Could it be celebrities? It could be any number of things based on where you live, what your students are into. But you need to present thought-provoking prompts. You're going to have to remix that curriculum. If you've got some dry curriculum that it's just dry, it doesn't necessarily call forth, it doesn't necessarily speak to the students. It's not using language that just like, whoa, bing bong, okay, I get that. Oh, you said Instagram. Oh, here I am. I'm listening now. If you don't have TikTok. Oh, who said TikTok? Oh, wow. I'm listening now. Who do I need to follow somebody? Am I missing something? Is there a video that's going? You've got to call forth questions that really call forth. Yes, you've got them in your classroom. But there's that extra, there's another level that we need to go to in terms of being able to call forth our students, in terms of provoking them to thinking, provoking them to develop a question in their mind to ask. So you think of advertisements. So I in my mind, I think that so many advertisements are simply ignored, but there are those advertisements that have the ability to call forth, pay attention, look right here. And right now for me, it's there's an Apple commercial that is promoting the stabilizing components of the camera, and you see the mother is lined up at the starting line of this race, and she pulls up her camera and she's watching her son, and like as she's running through the crowd and knocking people out of the way, following her son, like it's just, for me, that commercial, it speaks to me. I don't know what it is about that commercial, but it's calling forth. It's engaging me. Okay, it's causing me to think. So I want you to think about that. What can you do in terms of considering your audience? How can you change up how you present that material to your students? Again, I'm not asking you to be an entertainer. You are not an entertainer, okay? But these are things in terms of, you came here for leadership. This is part of leadership. This is part of being a leader. Remember, we exhaust all the tools in our toolbox, and then when they're all gone, we get some more. This is part of leadership. You do what you can. You do everything that you can, and you leave it out there. You just leave it all out there on the field. You do whatever you can. All right. So the next part is helping students ask better questions. Helping students ask better questions. That's going to put them in a position to succeed, and that's going to fill them with confidence to raise their hand in front of all their students. They're putting their status on the line. We'll put my status on the line by raising my hand and asking this questions. Well, we fill them with confidence. We fill them with confidence by showing them, by teaching them how to ask questions, by modeling. It goes like this. Hey, at this point of the lesson, you may be wondering this. You may have this question. And I know you may be thinking, oh, I don't want to raise my hand. That's a silly question. No, that's not a silly question. Let me answer that question for you. By thinking out loud, by showing them, hey, you may be thinking this. And I because in my other class, this is what they were thinking. They were thinking this. They were thinking this, but then they were also confused by this part over here. And so their question was, there you go. You just put it out there. You put it out there. You address those questions that have gone unasked. Those questions that are just going to remain unanswered because they didn't ask those questions. So you beating them to the punch, going into their brains and pulling out that question, that's going to fill them with confidence. That's going to fill them with confidence. So you model it. You model what does a surface level question look like? And then you model this is a deep question. And you also go about sharing with them, I would say you go about sharing with them how you create a test question, and let them analyze that test question and understand that there are levels when it comes to asking questions from them, and there are levels when it comes to asking questions from your perspective as well. And so what I believe that does is that helps them to understand, I got to be on top of my game if I'm going to rock it out on this test, because there are levels to these questions. And so if there are levels to the questions on the test, I better respect the fact that there are levels when it comes to the questions that I answer, when it comes to how I apply my mind to the acquisition of knowledge in this classroom. That's good. All right. I want to give you something that I found. It's just a very simple tool that I found online. But first, before I give that to you, I want to direct you to marvinbird.com. Once again, marvinbird.com. That's the website. If you want to find out what we're doing, what's going on here. But marvinbird.com/support the message. If you like what's going on here, if you like the message that teachers are leaders, and you feel like, hey, what can I do to support this message? What can I do to support this content that continues to come out? What can I do? So there are a number of things that you can do. You can go to marvinbird.com and click the tab up top. It says support the message. Support the message, and you'll find 3 ways. I'll talk about just one of those ways that you can support the message, and that's simply by shopping at Amazon. Whenever you shop at Amazon, there is a link on marvinbird.com/support the message. There's an Amazon link. So before you go to Amazon, just click that link, and then whatever you buy, we get a little commission from what you buy. The price is the same as if you would go straight to Amazon, but we just get a little finder's fee commission if you use that link whenever you go to Amazon to make your purchases. So that is the number one way that many people have been using in order to support this message that teachers are leaders. And I thank you so much for your support throughout the years. Thank you for considering using that link. And so let's get back to this. All right. Here's the last thing I'm going to give you for the day. When we talk about helping students to ask questions, because they need to ask questions, because that's going to fill them with confidence, because they're going to be able to apply or acquire past knowledge so that they can apply it to new situations. And that's going to give them a whole lot of confidence. This is very simple. And it's not mine. This is not mine. This is from facultyfocus.com. 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 And the author's name is Mariah Crawford. This is genius to me. What she did was she handed out note cards. She handed out note cards to all the students. All of the students. And she waited she said, okay, I want you to write any questions down that you may have, because, students, they get embarrassed. They get embarrassed about asking questions, or they think their question is a dumb question. So she handed everyone a note card. She waited 5 minutes and she collected all the cards. And then she just shuffled. The kids, they don't know what's on the cards. They don't know whose card, what card belongs to what students. They don't know any of that. So she shuffled, and some of the cards were blank, but the students didn't know that. So she's shuffling through. So bottom line, it's all anonymous. And as I'm saying this, you're probably already thinking of a way you can just remix this without even using the card. That's because you're brilliant. So I like this. Shuffle the cards, and then, oh, here's a question, even though there was probably just one person that asked a question. But teacher's like, oh, we got a number of questions here. I'm only going to be able to get through one of them today, and I'll go through some the next day. Something like that, to protect the innocent, as they say on those old cop shows. So yeah, that's a way you can encourage students to ask their questions and yet protect their just protect them so that they're not embarrassed. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop right there. As we're really getting into this information. This is so important. Habits of the mind, habits of successful people, self-directed learners. This is really going to help. I think that once you really reflect on this, spend a lot of time throughout your week thinking about this and how you can help your students consistently change their mindset so that they're in a good position to acquire knowledge so that they can apply that knowledge. That's the way it works. Acquire knowledge to apply knowledge. And think of the reverse. If I don't acquire this knowledge, I can't apply this knowledge. If I don't acquire this knowledge, I can't apply the knowledge to this new situation. And I want you to think about that. What happens? What happens there? Yeah, student grows older. The world is still rotating on its axis. It's revolving around the sun. But at the same time, a student is not acquiring knowledge. So therefore, they can't apply that knowledge that they should have had to learn new knowledge. Think about that. All right. So we're going to pick this up again during the next episode, but I want to leave it at about around 30 minutes to make it really manageable and make it bite-sized. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for those of you watching. And until we meet again, please don't forget that teachers are leaders.